as you guys can tell, we got a little bit of a different setup today, but there is big news. So we always told you guys we're going to keep you updated on our journey and how we progress all the way up until financial freedom and then some. So Taylor is going to, hopefully, we're fingers crossed, coming up soon in 3 weeks, close on his very first property, which is amazing news.
Why did you hesitate just then?
It's been a long time in the making, and he's been through the whole process of first time home buyer. So in this video, we're going to go through some common questions people will ask, what you guys want to know about, and we'll go through it all right now. Let's see.
Stop wasting money on that dumb shit and instead put it in investment. I know it's tempting to spend it and be broke again.
Yeah, guys, so hopefully I can give you some interesting insight into the home buying process. It is indeed a process, so buckle up.
So let's jump into some of those questions. So, Taylor, on this property, obviously we want to know, how did you find this property?
Yeah, so if you guys have been following along, I've been down in this area for quite some time looking for properties, getting to know the area. So this one has just been popping up in one of the opportunity areas I've seen. I'm at this point pretty familiar with the whole layout and what hotspots I was looking for. So once this one popped up, I knew I had to be quick on it because down here, while the market may be cooling other places, it certainly isn't here.
That's the truth.
Things are staying on the market for a very short time, especially at decent prices.
Yeah.
So I just found this one on Zillow, actually. A lot of people are finding it off market, but fortunately I found this one on Zillow, but I was very quick to it, so that was kind of the difference maker. And I already knew the area I wanted to focus on, so as soon as it popped up, I was ready.
Yeah, guys, right there is a great point to take away. If you are hyper focused on a market, you can be the first one to offer on a house, first one to tour a house, because you already know the good zones and the bad zones. You've already paid attention, and you know, okay, this one's been on 5 hours. I got to go tour. I got to go check it out. I got to go get this done.
Yep.
All right, so now we know how you found it. Tell us a little bit about the property. What caught your eye about it in the first place?
So I knew it was in that opportunity zone that I wanted. And I was immediately attracted by the specs on it. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with over 1,200 square feet. And that may sound small or big depending on where you're from, but down here in Florida, that's a pretty decent house right there. And especially being close to the water. If you're not too familiar with the area, you may not understand, but east of 95, so you're within a mile or two of the intercoastal waterway right there. So, it's a pretty hot market, typically smaller homes. So I immediately was attracted by the specs right there, and the price actually wasn't unreasonable for that area. Now, you may think that it's unreasonable given the specs, but for that area, it was definitely reasonable. So I knew that I had to act quick. I kind of had a suspicion that something was wrong with it at the price point. So, but within an hour, within the day, I'm telling my real estate agent that I want to go tour this place, and he saw the opportunity there too. So we tried to get out there as quick as possible. I was fortunate enough to tour it. It was really interesting. The layout was a little bit weird, but I saw tremendous upside in it because while it was listed as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's legally actually a 3, 1.5, there was a back room area that I thought could easily be converted into a master bedroom. And for those who aren't too familiar with running comps and how houses are valued and everything, adding an extra bedroom or bathroom can add tens of thousands of dollars immediately to the appraisal value right there. So there was that, and then that what was legally a half bath had another little addition to it. It was just maybe not permitted fully, a little sauna shower area, so that could easily be converted into a full bath right there. So I saw the opportunity to convert it into a legal 4-2, which was a tremendous upside, and at the price being already reasonable, it immediately attracted me. So a mixture of all those things, I knew I had to act quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So again, there's a great point that he didn't go in saying, I'm going to buy this property as is, I'm going to live in this property, and that's it. That's the end of the story. No, he went in like, this is going to be a future rental property. What can I do now to make money, but also what can I do to force value by adding that bedroom or bathroom to then increase the value when he gets it refinanced later in the future, depending on how fast it gets done. And then he has more value in the property when no one else saw that. They're just seeing it as a 3-2. Yeah. He's seeing it as a potential 4-3, 4-2, plus additional square footage. That's what you got to do these days with everything so expensive, so high. You have to make a deal. You can't just buy the deal off the bat.
Yeah.
So you said you liked the numbers. The comps came good, just meaning that the houses in the area are selling for a good price compared to what they're asking. What did your actual offer look like?
So given the price being reasonable for the area, I wanted to be a bit aggressive in this. I'd come in with offers on houses prior to even at asking, and I'm getting outbid. So I knew that this one was a tremendous opportunity, given all the things that we've already discussed. So I decided to come in a little bit above asking, just to, kind of make your offer stand out and everything. So along with that, I knew that, the numbers were maybe a little bit tight because that's just the reality. Everything's very expensive now, especially with interest rates. Monthly expenses are crazy. Here in Florida, insurance is a whole beast in itself. So I wanted to come a little bit above asking, but to make it more feasible for me, I asked immediately for a seller's credit towards closing. And for those of you who don't really know, like let's say that you offer $10,000 above asking, but then you ask for a $10,000 credit. That's not the same as offering at asking. You know, having money back at closing, there's less money you'd need up front. You're able to buy down your rate. You're able to work it in different ways, but that's a whole nother conversation in itself. So I offered above asking with a seller's concession back. And fortunately enough, we were able to hear back in a couple of days, and we were actually able to get it under contract.
Okay, awesome. And you hear this term thrown around, especially when you're making your initial offer, it's accepted. What exactly is the earnest deposit, or what is that a part of the offer, or how does that work?
Yes, that is something that you can kind of put in your offer to show people that you're more serious. It's kind of just a thing that shows you're really into this, so you're willing to put some money up front. The earnest money deposit, in like this case, I put like $5,000 earnest money deposit down. Yeah. For this market and everything, I thought that was reasonable. But it just shows people that you're more serious. You know, you already got some money you're willing to throw at this. You know, some people don't put any earnest money down, but it's a immediate way to, again, make your offer stand out and be a little bit more attractive.
Yeah, and the good thing about the earnest deposit is it's just that it's refundable, and it goes towards your house in the end. So if you do end up closing on that house, that goes towards what you were supposed to put down. It's like a credit that you already put down up front. So it's not that you're saying, I'm serious, I want $5,000 on the table, and you lose it. It's still your money in the end. The other thing I want to point out is that almost everybody, when they look at a house and someone asks for a certain amount of money, the asking price, and you look at it, you're like, I don't want to pay what they want because they're overvaluing whatever. To see it in a different perspective and going over asking is because you know the market you're in, you know it's going up in value. You know 10 years down the road, no matter what you offer, the house is pretty much going to be worth more than that. That it's now in the short term you feel like you're not getting a deal, but you are getting a deal in the end as long as you know the area is going up in value. Going up in value, and you're making the right move. Like, it's okay to go over asking. Especially like you said, you ran the comps came back great,
and the upside to add value right there, the potential in the property itself.
That 4, 5, 10,000, whatever you go over. Obviously, work with your agent and your market, but that is totally worth it in the end, and that's how you're going to attract that seller to want to bite your offer so much faster or more than someone else's. So you talked about asking for money back. I'm assuming that means you did that in your offer. And so did you also go through an inspection and have that renegotiation period? And if you did, how did that inspection go? Yeah,
that's a good point. That's another contingency you'll add in your offer. I included it. I was curious about the inspection and everything because this particular house was like a kind of a helper rehab house. So, I was curious if, things had been damaged and everything. Turns out, it was a very solid house. Even that addition, that thing that I saw could be turned into a 4th bedroom is actually an addition. It's not part of the original house, but it was made out of cinder block, which is good down here. That saves you money. It's durable, well made.
Standard.
Yeah, the upside in that was nice. There were, of course, a few small things that show up in any inspection, especially with an older house. This was made back, 50, 60, 70 years ago. So obviously you're going to have some small things come along. But the biggest things that I look for in inspection, and the biggest things that you guys should consider is, your big ticket items. Your roof, things like your AC, hot water heater, anything, big appliances, foundational issues, anything like that. You want to make sure that that's taken care of, or you're going to at least negotiate to where it's worth your while to take on such an endeavor, because those things right there are tremendous, and in certain instances can stop you from getting types of lending, like traditional or conventional lending. People won't insure something with a bad roof or a bad foundation. So I did have the inspection. It went well, better than I anticipated, honestly. But there was enough things that I felt justified in asking for a little bit more. And actually, I asked for more than I had already asked for back at closing. And the seller in this case was actually an investor without too much familiarity with the property. So kind of knowing also the situation can be helpful in what they're trying to do. She was just trying to offload this investment property. So I asked for more back at closing. She agreed, fortunately. So now we're moving forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, on that, what is one tip you would give somebody, whether the inspection period, the offer, just looking for a house? What's one tip you'd give somebody going through this process right now?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down to one.
Pick one.
Know your area, but in like our area, for example, actually looking at what something is legally considered, because you need to know what something's going to appraise for. Like in this case, it did turn out to be a 3.1.5. It was listed as a 3.2. I've toured multiple houses down here where it's listed as like a 4.3, a 4.2. I tour it. I can immediately tell that these were just random additions. I don't think they've been permitted. So looking into that a little bit, knowing what actually went into your house, I think is an important thing to know. Just because right now, where the market is and everything, I've heard more and more about appraisers being a little bit more conservative. So they're going to be looking at what's, actually there and what's been permitted and everything. They're going to consider, they're not considering it as a 3-2 like this particular house. They're going to look at it as a 3-1.5. And knowing those things going in can help you better prepare for your offer and any type of funding or financing that you'll need for the house.
Yeah, and that's a great point, that the appraisal is so important. So you think you're done after the inspection, you think you're done, and you're just waiting to close. But once you get that appraisal back, if it comes in lower, because just like Taylor said, maybe they called out a 3-2, but it's realistically or legally permitted as a 2-1, then the appraisal is going to base it on a 2-1.
Yeah.
And
you're going to make up that difference.
Exactly. So if it comes in lower than your final offer, you're going to have to pay the difference. So if it's 300 versus 200, you got 100,000 extra out of pocket on top of closing. So be careful with that. That's a great pro tip.
Banks aren't going to lend more than it's worth.
Exactly.
It's an investment and a risk on their part, so
yeah, exactly.
make sure that they're covered.
All right, so what is one thing that you would say to look out for, or something that's like a huge negative that when it comes to this, that a red flag to always be on the lookout? Again, it can be inspection, offer, maybe the seller. You're like, just be like, don't like when you don't deal with these kind of people, whatever it is. What's one thing that you look out for as a big red flag?
One of the things I found most recently was with the seller and seller's agent actually is, now it is a bit more of a seller's market, so you will have to bend and work yourself around a little bit, but once you have what you value and what you really need to happen for a house, don't bend too much on that, because certain seller's agents or sellers, they're going to, okay, get this contingency down, remove this and everything. I want your financial contingency to be, just 2 weeks instead of up until closing. All these little things, they're like, oh, use my title company, I'll use this. And they're going to try and rush you, and you're like, okay, why are you trying to get me through this? So like, oh, if you want this house we're only going to let you have an inspection period of 2 days, so you better have your guy ready. They're going to rush you and everything, and now some of that you're going to have to kind of work with the market. Sometimes, especially when it was at its hottest, you kind of had to work with that. You kind of had to listen, but know what you want to kind of look for. Don't get taken advantage. Don't get swept up in it. And in the same kind of sense of that, a lot of people are, getting swept up in the emotion of everything. If you're like us and you're looking to reach financial freedom, and real estate is one of your biggest avenues of achieving that, you need to look at things through, not rose-tinted glasses, really. You got to look at it as an investment, even if you're going to live in it, which in this case it will be my primary residence. I'm still looking at it down the road and everything. I'm not getting all like, oh, I've been at this for months now, I just got to buy a house. You still got to make it work. So know what you want, stick to it, and if you need to bend a little bit, make sure that you're planned ahead for that and you have kind of a route to go forward.
Yeah. Think about it. The seller wants to make the most money. They're selling the property. And the only way the seller's agent makes money is if they sell the property. So their interest is all one-sided. So if they come back, you know how many times we've asked agents, hey, you guys got any activity? Tons. Oh, like you wouldn't believe how many people. You're like, then why has it been on for half a year? It's been on the market.
72 tours on my open house tomorrow.
Exactly.
There's no way.
Like they're in it for themselves to sell the property. That's the only way it benefits them. So be in it for yourself, just like your buyer's agent is going to be, and then you'll know. Then you'll see the red flags.
Also make sure your agent's good, because they'll know that a lot of this lingo and stuff, because sometimes they'll ask for, okay, well, we got your offer, give us your best and highest by this time. They don't even have any other offers. They're just throwing stuff out there. So be wary, stick to your guns if you're confident in what your offer is and what your numbers are. Don't completely compromise yourself just because someone says you should.
That's fair. All right, so now your offer's been accepted. You've gone through all of that. Then you had the inspection. You renegotiated. They accepted your renegotiation. What's next? What do you do? Is it over? Are we done? Can we walk in the house? What's next?
I wish it was done. I know that there's a lot of paperwork and fees ahead of me, but the most important thing coming up is the appraisal. And actually, an important fact is my loan is an FHA loan, which is a first-time homebuyer loan for those of you who don't know. And the appraisal is that much more important in FHA. They do a whole separate inspection to make sure it meets qualifications for an FHA loan. And, there are upsides, downsides to an FHA versus conventional. That's a whole nother topic in itself, but that's next, is getting that appraisal, making sure it meets all the criteria for that loan, because the financial contingency is still real right now. We've done the negotiation, done the inspection, everything, so now it's really just a matter of finances, making sure that nothing crazy is uncovered. Now, like I said, the inspection came back good, so I have high hopes. Of course, I'm not counting it all as done. There are things that can go wrong, obviously, in this real estate game, but I'm hopeful, and right now just looking forward to seeing what that appraisal comes back at.
Awesome. And the only other small thing that happens is the final walkthrough. And all that is literally you walk through the property really fast and say, what we talked about the property's condition was in, is it still in that condition? No one broke in, there's not a broken window all of a sudden, no one spray painted the inside, stuff like that. A hurricane didn't come through and wreck the property.
Yeah,
like,
if there are tenants there, they didn't steal a bunch of stuff, they didn't take all your appliances and everything.
Exactly.
When you go under contract, you agree to buy the house in that condition when you sign that contract. So that's what that little walkthrough is.
Yeah.
That's, right before you're closing and everything. So that's further down the line. But again, looking forward to this process.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a lot of work, though.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and roughly, how long does closing take from when, I guess, you put in your first offer until you have keys in hand?
Yeah. Typically, it's 30 days. In this case, I'm expecting it to be in 30 days. Now, obviously, that can vary a little bit. Actually, in my negotiation during our inspection period, I had asked for either money back or for them to fix up things. Now, things like that, had they chosen to fix it themselves by a licensed contractor and everything, they had to get everything permitted for it. That can delay things. There's a whole bunch of things that can delay a closing, but typically we're looking at 30 days, and I'm expecting to be on schedule right now.
Okay. And I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so during this whole experience, you had to have questions.
Oh,
you had to have, like,
a billion.
Even if you do it 152 times, you have questions. So who did you lean on for this? Your agent, your parents, because they obviously have bought a house before, contractors, friends? Who did you lean on? Or a combination of all?
Yeah, well, I'm the guy who does a ton of research. I am super analytical about every decision, but of course, it's always good to ask people who have experience in the game. So my agent...
Quick side story. One weekend in college, it took him a whole weekend to buy a single TV. He had to research and go
charts,
back and look at it 500 times.
Conditional formatting.
I did not know what I signed up for. All right, back to it.
Yeah, so I'm very analytical, but the best place to really go, you can do as much research as you want, but people with experience in the game, it's just a little bit different. I think anybody will tell you that.
Yeah.
And just about any sphere of investing or just life in general. So fortunately, my real estate agent was really good. Really liked him. He's very knowledgeable in the space, very upfront, very quick. And with my job, I travel a lot, so I've toured houses in other areas, other states and everything. And not all agents are the creative people, okay? Not all of them are going to be very smart. A lot of them know how to sell a house. They don't know anything about houses. That's just the reality of the game.
Some of them just don't have to drive.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really want to sell the house. They just want it to come to them.
It's amazing that some people, especially in this market, I'll reach out, can I tour this house? And they just won't get back to me. I'm like, are you even trying to sell a house right now? So on both ends, agents can be a liability, can be a great benefit. So again, that's another little side bit. Don't be afraid to switch up agents. Fortunately, mine was good. Ryan, actually, my bro here, the other bro and the two bros, recommended him to me. Also, Ryan, this interview isn't about him, but he's got a good experience in real estate. So between my family, my own research and everything, my agent, and my bro here, I felt pretty confident in the space that I was in. And confidence also comes with just knowing your market and everything, being down here long enough. That's how I was able to, put this offer out so quickly. And hopefully in a couple weeks I'll have a house.
Yeah. See, and that's a great point. You have to... It could be a combination or a ton of different people. Obviously, you want to lean on your agent. Hopefully, they're good. You can lean on them for questions. But also, the idea that you will have say your parents aren't investors, but they've bought a house. Yeah. They can answer a ton of those questions. Your friends that maybe are investors or other investors, whatever you're going through, someone can answer your question. If you have a lender, be straight with the lender and just ask them your questions. Try and obviously do a little research on your own so you don't get taken advantage of, but just lean on people. Ask all the questions you possibly can. And one, you'll be more knowledgeable, but two, you could maybe get different benefits outside of just the knowledge.
Yeah. Hey, don't be afraid to ask somebody random. Sometimes people that are not in the game at all will point out something so obvious.
Yeah.
How did I not even think
You're
about
just
that?
too in the weeds, and they see it from this obvious third-party perspective.
So you can get knowledge from anywhere, guys. And it's important to get knowledge from a lot of different areas and avenues.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so a common question that we've heard, we've asked ourselves, we've talked to different people. Do you think a realtor is worth it? After you've gone through this experience now, you mentioned a couple of times how he's great, he helped you, he's such an asset.
Yeah.
I guess, do you think he's worth it? We kind of already know your answer. But also, name like one or two things, maybe even 3 or 5 things, whatever you got up your sleeve, off your dome, why you would say it's worth it.
So I think an agent is 100% worth it if it's the right agent for you. I think that's very important. I've had agents where I'm like, I'm doing everything. There's no point in you being here. You're just the person who's got the access code for me to get in this house.
Yeah.
So finding the right agent is almost an invaluable resource right there, because they'll oftentimes also know people in the game.
Oh, yeah.
So they're a great network node right there to just further expand in this market and everything. So a good agent, I think, is worth their weight in gold. A bad agent can honestly be detrimental to you. So finding the right one, I think, is 100% worth it. I myself have my real estate license in Georgia, not Florida, but I just saw the opportunity, for further education and everything, and real estate something we're both invested in and interested in as a topic. So I think that it is worth it. Something to look out for is, they're quick with it. They're very straightforward. Sometimes, you may almost get an abrasive vibe from them just how straightforward they are. But honestly, that's good a lot of times, I think. They're quick with their responses. They're very knowledgeable. And you can kind of tell pretty quickly.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, what are your opinions on this area? If they don't really know the area, they're new to the game. I'm not saying there's not new agents that are good at the game, but do a little bit of vetting there. Definitely feel them out, figure out if it's the right one for you. And in that case, I think they are a excellent resource.
Yeah, if you find an agent that's very knowledgeable and very connected, you are hitting a gold mine. Because just like you said, if you go into a market you don't necessarily know and you buy, or say you get your offer accepted, who are you going to get who's going to inspect it for you?
Yeah.
Who's going to, if you find out there's a plumbing issue, who's going to fix that? You got to have someone that knows someone.
Yeah.
And on top of that, just going into a market you don't know, you got to have someone you can ask questions, and hopefully that's a great agent.
Yeah, 100%. And to that point, I actually got this house under contract while I was out of state.
Yeah.
So my realtor, he knew a great home inspector guy, so he called him and he was out next day. Because I wasn't able to be here and everything. I was out for work, so I wasn't able to be here vetting different people on, can you be out there, yada, yada. Because something like that is a tremendous resource, because had I not found an inspector, maybe I found one, 3 days in, and I only got, the next day I get the report, I'm supposed to do all my negotiations by next day. You want as much time and for it to be as stress-free as possible, because it's almost impossible to avoid stress in this process, but having that resource it alleviates some of that stress, I should say.
For sure. So I guess that's all I had, all the common questions we've heard. If you guys have any other questions, please ask them below. Taylor personally will go in there and answer all of your questions. But other than that, anything else you want to say and kind of close it out?
Hey, keep your head up, guys. I know that it's a very long process if you're anything like me, if you're in the game right now or just looking for a house, maybe not even from an investment standpoint. It can be hard to find one right now. I know I've been outbid countless times. There's a lot of ways to kind of work it around, and, just know that your effort isn't worth nothing. You're gaining experience, you're gaining knowledge, and just keep going at it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content, and we're going to always update you guys on our journey and what's coming up next. Please watch for our next video. We got a lot of good content coming out. We've noticed a lot of great activity from you guys in the comments, the likes, the views. So keep watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Hopefully I'll have a house.
Stop wasting money on that dumb shit and instead put it in investment. I know it's tempting. You'll spend it and be broke again.